first thing General Marcus Bologna saw was the soles of someone's slippers. Right there, on his leather chair. His chair was not just furniture, it was a rule, a boundary, a small kingdom inside his private study in Asokoro, Abuja. And now, somebody was lying in it like it was a bus seat at Area 1. Marcus stood still in the doorway. The room smelled like polish and cold air conditioning. The tall curtains were drawn the exact way he liked them, 2 fingers apart, no more, no less. His desk was clean like a hospital table. His books were arranged by height, then by color. Even the pen tray sat at a perfect right angle. Everything was correct, everything except the girl in the chair. She had curled into herself, knees pulled up like she was trying to disappear. Her head leaned against the armrest. Her mouth was slightly open. A soft snore escaped, then stopped, then came again. Marcus's eyes moved fast. To the window, locked. To the door, locked. To the ceiling corners. Cameras. To the floor. No footprints where there shouldn't be. Still, his heart began to knock inside his chest like a fist. Danger. That was what his brain screamed, not because he saw a weapon. Because he saw a mistake. And in Marcus's world, a mistake could get people buried. He stepped in without making a sound, not because he wanted to scare her, but because his body still remembered war. He moved like he was back in Sambisa, back in the nights when silence meant survival. Only this was not Sambisa. This was home. He took one more step. The girl's eyelids fluttered. She did not wake. Marcus stared at her face. She looked young, maybe early 20s. Dark skin. Slim body. A plain navy cleaning uniform. Small stud earrings. Her hair was covered with a simple scarf, but some curls still pushed out like they were tired too. She looked exhausted, but Marcus did not see exhausted. He saw breach. His fingers twitched near the small panic button under the doorframe. One press and his guards would rush in. He could end her job tonight. He could have her escorted out like trash. He could call his aide, Samson, and say, "Find out who she is." Now. But his eyes stayed on the chair. His chair, the chair he never allowed anyone to touch. Not even to dust, without permission. Not even to move 1 inch. He remembered the last time someone sat on it. It was years ago, and that person was his mother. She had sat there because her legs were weak, and he was still a young officer then, still learning how to be hard, still learning how to pretend he did not fear anything. His throat tightened. Not from love. From memory. Marcus's jaw clenched. He stepped closer. He reached out slowly and tapped the girl's shoulder with 2 fingers, like he was testing an electric wire. "Stand up," he said. His voice was low, calm, sharp. The girl jerked awake like she had been slapped by air. Her eyes went wide. She sat up fast, too fast. Her elbow hit the armrest. Her scarf shifted. She looked around, confused. Then her gaze landed on Marcus, and she went stiff. Her face drained of color, like her skin forgot how to breathe. She slid off the chair immediately, almost falling. "No, sir, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry," she cried. Her hands shook as she tried to straighten her uniform. She kept bowing her head, like that could erase what happened. Marcus did not speak. He just stared at her. The silence was heavy. It pressed down on the room. The girl swallowed hard. "I didn't mean, sir. Please. I didn't." Her voice cracked. She looked like she might cry right there. Marcus finally spoke, each word measured like a soldier counting bullets. "What is your name?" "J. Juliet, sir." Her voice came out thin. "Juliet what?" "Juliet Akinyemi, sir." He nodded once, as if adding her name to a file in his head. Then he pointed at the chair without looking away from her face. "Do you know where you were sleeping?" Juliet's eyes flicked to the chair, then back to him. "Yes, sir." "Do you know whose chair it is?" "Yes, sir." "And you still slept there?" Juliet's lips trembled. She opened her mouth, but no explanation came out. Just a weak breath. Marcus took a slow step forward. Juliet stepped back. The distance between them stayed the same, like her body knew he was danger. Marcus's mind started running. If she could enter his private study without being stopped, if she could sit in his chair, if she could sleep, Then what else could happen in this house? He imagined it fast, too fast. A stranger wearing a cleaner's uniform. A small item planted under his desk. A message passed to someone outside. A gun. A bomb. A bullet. His heart jumped. His eyes flashed to the corner camera again, as if it had betrayed him. He inhaled, slow, controlled. Then he pressed the small panic button. A soft beep answered. Juliet flinched like she heard a slap. What? What is that, sir? Marcus did not answer. Within seconds, boots thundered in the hallway. The study door opened wider, and 2 armed guards rushed in. Black uniforms, stern faces. They stopped when they saw Juliet. Marcus pointed at her, still calm. This one. She entered my private space. Juliet's eyes grew even wider. No, sir, please, please. Marcus lifted one hand. The room went quiet again. He turned to the guards. Search her bag. Juliet's mouth fell open. My bag. One guard moved toward the small cleaning bag near the wall. Juliet tried to step forward, then stopped, terrified. The guard opened it and pulled out normal things. A small rag, a cheap spray bottle, a pack of biscuits, a tiny worn-out notebook, a phone with a cracked screen. Nothing dangerous. The guard looked at Marcus and shook his head. Nothing, sir. Marcus still did not relax, because the danger in his mind was not always something you could hold in your hand. Sometimes it was just lack of control. He looked at Juliet again. How long have you been working in this house? 3 months, sir, she whispered. Who hired you? Madam Agnes, the housekeeper, sir. Marcus's eyes narrowed. Agnes was old staff. Trusted. So how did this happen? He walked closer again, and Juliet backed away until her shoulders touched the bookshelf. Why were you here at night? Marcus asked. Juliet blinked fast. I was told to clean the study before tomorrow morning, sir. Madam Agnes said, you don't like dust. She said the curtains must be straight. The carpet must be brushed. The books must not be touched. Marcus's expression did not change, because everything she said was true. He hated dust. He hated disorder. He hated tomorrow morning surprises. That was how his OCD showed itself, not as a joke, not as being neat, but as a hard, painful need, a need that could choke him if it was not satisfied. Marcus glanced around the room. The carpet lines were straight. The curtains were correct. The table edges were aligned. She had done the work. So why did she sleep? Juliet seemed to read his question. Her voice turned smaller. I didn't plan to sleep, sir. I swear. She swallowed. My eyes were burning. I stood since morning. I didn't eat well. I only sat down for 1 minute. Just 1 minute. Marcus stared at her. 1 minute. That was how accidents happened. That was how a soldier looked away for 1 minute and never came back. His mind pushed him again hard into another place. A dusty road. A radio message. A shout. Then silence. He blinked, and the study returned. Juliet was still there, pressed against the shelf, shaking. Marcus's voice came out colder than he intended. You are not allowed to sit in this chair. Not now. Not ever. Juliet nodded quickly, tears forming. Yes, sir. Marcus turned to the guards. Leave us. The guards hesitated. Sir, leave, Marcus repeated, firmer. They stepped out, closing the door behind them. Now it was only Marcus and Juliet, a rich man and a poor cleaner. A general and a girl who smelled like soap. Marcus walked to his desk slowly, like he was testing the floor. He did something strange. He wiped the armrest of the chair with a white handkerchief from his pocket. Once, twice, 3 times. Juliet watched in silence. Ashamed, Marcus noticed her watching, and his face tightened. He hated that part of himself too, the part that could not stop. He folded the handkerchief neatly and placed it back in his pocket, like nothing happened. Then he sat on the edge of his desk, not on the chair, because the chair felt wrong now. He looked at Juliet again. What do you know about security rules? He asked. Juliet blinked. Security? Rules? Yes, in this house. Juliet shook her head slowly. I just follow orders, sir. Marcus nodded as if that answer annoyed him. Then he stood, and the calmness left his voice, not as shouting, as something worse, controlled anger. In this house, he said, there are spaces you do not enter without permission. There are things you do not touch. There are routines you do not break. Juliet nodded fast. Yes, sir. Marcus stepped toward her until they were close enough for her to smell his cologne clean and sharp, like a hospital corridor. And if you break them, Marcus said softly, you become a risk. Juliet's throat moved. A risk? Marcus's eyes stayed on hers. Yes. Juliet's eyes filled with tears fully now. She tried to blink them away like they were embarrassment. Sir, please, she said, and her voice cracked again. I'm not a risk. I'm just tired. The word tired hit Marcus in a strange place. He remembered his mother's voice, years ago, when she said the same word. Marcus, I'm tired. He pressed the memory down quickly. He didn't like memories. Memories made you soft, and soft people got hurt. Marcus looked away for a second, then back. From today, he said, you will not move around this house freely. Of them, Juliet's breath caught. Marcus continued, like he was reading a judgment. You will clean only where you are told. You will go only where you are directed. You will not enter my study again unless my aide, Samson, is with you. Juliet stared at him. It took a moment before her brain understood. She wasn't being fired, but she was being trapped. Her voice came out tiny. Sir, are you punishing me? Marcus's face was unreadable. I am managing a threat, he said. Juliet shook her head slowly, tears dropping now. I don't understand, she whispered. Marcus stepped away, then turned, and his next words landed like stone. You will also stay in the staff quarters wing until further notice. No roaming. No late-night movement. If you need water, ask the housekeeper. If you need anything, you report to Samson. Juliet's hands lifted, palms open, like she wanted to beg, but didn't know how. Sir, please, I'm not a criminal. Marcus's eyes hardened. Tonight, you behaved like someone who does not respect boundaries. Juliet's lips trembled. She looked down at the floor. Then she whispered, almost to herself, life has never respected my own boundaries either. Marcus heard it. He shouldn't have, but he did. He frowned. What did you say? Juliet shook her head quickly. Nothing, sir. I'm sorry. Marcus stared at her. There was something about her voice. Something familiar, in the way she swallowed pain, like it was normal. He didn't know her story. He didn't know she had been an orphan since she was a teenager. He didn't know she once wore a caregiver's uniform instead of a cleaner's uniform. He didn't know she once held a sick woman's hand in a small clinic in Kubwa and promised, I won't leave you. Marcus walked toward the door. As he reached it, he paused. He didn't face her fully when he spoke, almost like he was embarrassed to say anything gentle. If you are tired, he said, sleep in the staff lounge. Not here. Juliet nodded weakly. Yes, sir. Marcus opened the door, but before he stepped out, his phone buzzed in his pocket. He glanced at the screen. A message from Samson. Sir, urgent. I found something about the cleaner. We need to talk. Now. Marcus's fingers tightened around the phone. He looked back at Juliet, still standing by the bookshelf, eyes wet, shoulders shaking, trying not to fall apart. Marcus's mind began to spin again. What did Samson find? Who is she? Why does this suddenly feel bigger than a chair? He stepped out and closed the door behind him, and in the hallway, under the bright lights, General Marcus Bologna felt something he hated to feel, uncertainty, because the next truth was already moving toward him, and once it arrived, it would not ask permission before breaking his rules. Marcus did not go to his bedroom. He went to the situation room. That was what he called it, even though it was just a small office beside the main corridor. One desk, one chair, one wall clock that ticked too loudly at night. No decorations, no softness, a place to think. A place to control fear. He shut the door behind him and locked it. Then he checked the lock again, twice. Only then did he sit. His phone buzzed again in his hand, like it was impatient. Samson, sir, please, this is sensitive. Marcus typed back fast. Marcus, say it. There was a pause, a long one. Marcus stared at the clock. Each second felt like a footstep coming closer. Then the message came. Samson. The cleaner's name is Juliet Akinyemi. She used to work as a caregiver. Years ago. Before she became a cleaner. Marcus frowned. That alone meant nothing. Lots of people changed jobs. Lots of people fell. His fingers hovered over the screen. Marcus. So. Another pause. Longer this time. Marcus's chest felt tight. He stood up without knowing why. Then the next message arrived. Samson. Sir. She worked at Street Luke's community clinic in Kubwa. Marcus stopped breathing. The room felt smaller. That name. Street Luke's. He had not heard it spoken out loud in years. He avoided it. Like a graveyard you pass quickly without looking inside. His mother had died there. Or so he believed. Marcus typed slowly now. Marcus. What year? Samson. The same year your mother fell ill. Marcus's vision blurred for a moment. He leaned against the desk. Memories pushed forward without permission. The smell of antiseptic, the broken fan in the waiting room, the sound of coughing from behind thin curtains. His mother sitting on a bed, too proud to complain, telling him she was fine, even when she wasn't. He swallowed hard. Marcus. You're saying this cleaner. Worked there when my mother was sick. The reply came immediately. Samson. Yes, sir. Marcus closed his eyes. Something inside him tightened like a rope pulled too fast. No, that was impossible. Too many years had passed. Too many people had failed his mother in that place. Doctors who barely looked at her. Relatives who promised to come and never did. Caregivers who changed shifts and disappeared. He opened his eyes again. Marcus, why are you telling me this now? The dots appeared on the screen. Samson was typing. Stopped. Typing again. Then the message came, careful and heavy. Samson. Because, sir, her name appears in your mother's old clinic file. Not as a patient. As the last caregiver assigned to her. Marcus dropped the phone. It hit the floor with a sharp sound. He didn't bend to pick it up immediately. He just stood there, staring at nothing. His mind began to shake. Not like panic. Like something worse, confusion. His mother had been alone. That was the story he carried for years. That was the anger he used to survive war. The anger that turned him into a man who trusted rules more than people. The anger that told him, if you are not watching, something precious will be taken. He bent down slowly and picked up the phone. His hands were not shaking, but his chest hurt. Marcus, what exactly does the file say? This time, Samson did not text. The phone rang. Marcus stared at the screen. He didn't like phone calls at night. Phone calls meant bad news. They meant death. Orders. Explosions. He answered anyway. Talk, Marcus said. Samson's voice came through, low and careful. Sir, I went through the old files you asked me to digitize last month. Most were incomplete, but your mother's file had handwritten notes. Marcus closed his eyes again. Read it, he said. There was a soft rustle on the other end, like paper moving. Then Samson began. Caregiver on duty, Juliet Akinyemi. Young, volunteer, stayed beyond shift hours due to patient abandonment. Marcus's throat tightened. Samson continued. Slower now. Patient requested caregiver to remain overnight. Caregiver complied without pay. Marcus leaned back against the wall. Images formed in his head without warning. A young girl sitting beside a hospital bed, holding his mother's hand, talking to her softly, helping her drink water. Keep going, Marcus said. Samson swallowed audibly. Caregiver fed patient when meals were missed. Bathed patient when no nurse was available. Patient appeared calmer in caregiver's presence. The room felt too quiet. Marcus pressed his palm against his chest. He remembered his last visit. How his mother had looked. Less afraid than he expected. He had assumed the nurses were doing their job. He had never asked who stayed with her when he left. Samson's voice dropped. The last note, sir. Yes? Marcus said, almost afraid. It says, caregiver present when patient collapsed. Attempted resuscitation. Cried when patient passed. Marcus slid down the wall and sat on the floor. He didn't notice when. He just found himself there. A general. A billionaire. Sitting on cold tiles like a child who had lost something again. She cried? Marcus whispered, Yes, sir. Marcus laughed once. A broken sound. She cried, and I didn't even know her name. Silence filled the line. Samson did not speak. Marcus stared at the door in front of him. On the other side of that door, Juliet was probably still awake, still scared, still thinking she had almost lost her job because she slept in the wrong chair. Marcus thought of how he had looked at her, like a threat, like a weapon, like someone who did not deserve comfort. His stomach turned. How old was she then? Marcus asked quietly. About 17, sir, Samson replied. 17. A child herself. And she stayed. When others left, Marcus pressed his head against the wall. The war memories returned, but differently this time. Not explosions. Faces. People who stayed when they could have run. People who chose kindness instead of safety. He stood up slowly. Samson, he said, his voice rough. Where is Juliet from? Ado Ekiti originally, sir. She lost her parents early. Dropped out of school. Marcus closed his eyes. So she had been surviving long before she entered his house. Does she know who my mother was? Marcus asked. No, sir, Samson said. The file uses your surname before you changed it officially. She likely never connected it. Marcus nodded. That made it worse. She had helped his mother without knowing who she belonged to, without expecting reward, without control. Marcus ended the call without saying goodbye. He stood there for a long time, thinking, breathing, unlearning. Then he did something unusual. He unlocked the situation room door and walked down the hallway himself. No guards, no aid, just him. He stopped outside the staff wing. The light inside was dim. He could hear soft movements. Juliet's door was slightly open. He hesitated. For the first time in years, General Marcus Bologna did not know the correct step to take. He lifted his hand, lowered it, lifted it again, and knocked. Once, softly, the movement inside stopped. Juliet's voice came from behind the door, shaky. Who is there? Marcus swallowed. It's me, he said. Marcus. There was silence. Then footsteps. The door opened slowly. Juliet stood there, eyes red, face tired, hands folded in front of her, like she was still on duty. Yes, sir. Marcus looked at her, really looked this time, the same eyes Samson had described, the same quiet strength, the same tired kindness. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out, because for the first time, the war inside him was losing ground, and he didn't know how to fight that. Juliet stood in the doorway like she was waiting for bad news. Her shoulders were stiff, her hands were folded too neatly. Her eyes kept dropping to the floor, then lifting again, unsure where it was safe to look. Marcus noticed everything. That was his curse. That was also why this moment hurt. Sir, Juliet said again, quietly. Is there a problem? Marcus opened his mouth, closed it. He had faced armed men without blinking. He had given orders that sent soldiers into fire. He had stood before presidents and foreign generals with calm authority. But this felt harder. No, he finally said. There is a conversation. Juliet's fingers tightened around each other. I'm sorry about earlier, sir, she said quickly. I swear it won't happen again. I didn't mean to disrespect you. Marcus felt the word disrespect cut deeper than it should, because she was not disrespectful. She was tired, and he had punished tiredness like it was a crime. Come, Marcus said, stepping back slightly. Walk with me. Juliet hesitated. Now? She asked. Yes. She glanced behind her, then back at him. Sir? Am I in trouble? Marcus shook his head. No, not tonight. That answer did not calm her. She followed him anyway. They walked slowly down the corridor. The lights were low. The house was quiet in that deep, heavy way rich houses get. At night too big, too still, like they are holding secrets in the walls. Marcus kept his hands behind his back. Juliet walked 2 steps behind him, like she had been trained to. They stopped at the edge of the main living room. Marcus did not sit. He rarely did, unless everything felt right. Tonight, nothing felt right. Juliet, he said, turning to face her. How long did you work at Street Luke's clinic in Kubwa? The question landed like a slap. Juliet froze. Her eyes widened. Then confusion crossed her face. Street Luke's, she repeated slowly. Sir, how do you know that place? Marcus watched her carefully. This time, not like a threat, like a fragile thing. You worked there, he said. Years ago. Juliet swallowed. Yes, sir, she said cautiously. I did. For how long? She thought for a moment. Almost a year, she said. I was young then. I volunteered first. Then they kept me. Marcus nodded. And why did you leave? Juliet looked away. The pay was small, she said. And my school fees became too much. I had no one to help. Marcus felt something twist in his chest. Do you remember the patients you cared for? He asked. Juliet gave a small, sad smile. Yes, sir, she said. Some of them. Marcus took a slow breath. Do you remember an elderly woman? He asked. Who fell ill suddenly? Whose family stopped coming? Juliet's smile faded. Her face changed. Not fear. Recognition. Yes, she said softly. I remember her. Marcus's heart began to pound. What do you remember? He asked. Juliet looked up at the ceiling for a second, like she was opening a drawer in her mind. She was proud, Juliet said, even when she was weak. She always tried to sit up straight. She liked her wrapper folded properly. Marcus's breath caught. That was his mother. She didn't like noise, Juliet continued. She liked it when I read to her. Even when she closed her eyes, I knew she was listening. Marcus's vision blurred. What? What happened to her? He asked. Juliet lowered her gaze. She collapsed one evening, she said. The doctor tried. I tried. We couldn't save her. She paused. I stayed with her body until morning. Marcus felt the room spin. Why? He whispered. Juliet looked at him, surprised. Because no one else was there, she said simply. Silence stretched between them. Heavy. Painful. Marcus turned away and walked toward the window. The city lights of Abuja blinked in the distance. How did you feel? He asked, his back to her. Juliet hesitated. Sad? She said. Angry too. Angry at who? At life, Juliet replied. At how people disappear when things get hard. Marcus closed his eyes. That sentence explained his entire existence. He turned back to her slowly. That woman, he said, his voice low, was my mother. Juliet stared at him. At first, nothing registered. Then her eyes widened. Her lips parted. No, she whispered. Yes, Marcus said. Juliet took a step back like the ground had shifted. No. Sir. I didn't know. She said quickly. I swear, I didn't know. Marcus shook his head. I know. Her eyes filled with tears. I would have done the same thing even if I knew. She said, voice breaking. I wasn't helping because of who she was. I was helping because she was alone. That sentence broke something inside Marcus. He felt it crack. The raw voice in his head, the one that said control everything or lose everything, went quiet for a moment. Juliet wiped her face with the back of her hand, embarrassed. I'm sorry, she said. I don't mean to cry. Marcus looked at her. You stayed, he said, when others left. Juliet nodded. Yes, sir. And now? Marcus continued slowly. I treated you like a danger in my house. Juliet did not answer. She just stood there. Marcus took a step closer. I was wrong, he said. The words tasted strange. He had not said them often in his life. Juliet looked up, shocked. Sir, I was wrong, Marcus repeated. And I don't know how to fix that yet. Juliet's brows furrowed. Sir, I'm not asking for anything, she said quickly. I don't want trouble. I just want to work. Marcus nodded. I know, he said. Then he added quietly, that's what scares me. Juliet blinked. Scares you? Marcus looked around the large room. This house, he said, has been a battlefield for years. I brought war home with me. I thought rules would keep me safe. He looked at her again. But you didn't follow rules when my mother needed you. Juliet's lips trembled. I followed my heart, she said. Marcus let out a slow breath, and for the first time, the general felt tired in a different way. Not battle-tired, soul-tired. I need time, Marcus said. To think. Juliet nodded. Yes, sir. He hesitated. Then he said, You are not restricted anymore. Juliet's eyes widened again. Sir, you are free to move, Marcus said. You will not be watched like a suspect. She exhaled shakily. Thank you, sir. Marcus turned to leave, but just as he took his first step away, Juliet spoke again. Sir, he stopped. Your mother, she said softly. She was proud of you, even when she was scared. Marcus did not turn around, because if he did, she would see the tears he had not allowed himself to cry in years. Marcus did not sleep that night. He lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling, counting invisible lines, listening to the soft hum of electricity in the walls. Every sound had meaning to him. Every silence felt suspicious. Down the hallway, someone turned a tap. Marcus's eyes snapped open. He sat up. Too late for water, his mind said. He checked the time. 2:17 a.m. His chest tightened. His body moved before his thoughts could catch up. He slipped out of bed, pulled on a shirt, and stepped into the corridor barefoot, moving quietly, controlled, alert. War never asked if you were tired. It just came. He followed the sound to the kitchen ring. Juliet stood by the sink, filling a cup. She froze when she saw him. "Aye, sir," she said quickly. "I couldn't sleep. I just wanted water." Marcus nodded, but his eyes were already scanning. Knife rack, orderly. Windows, locked, back door bolted. The cup in Juliet's hand shook slightly. Marcus realized then how frightening he must look at night, tall, silent, watching. "I said you were free to move," he reminded himself out loud. Juliet nodded. "Yes, sir." There was an awkward pause. Then she surprised him. "Sir," she said carefully, "do you always wake up like this?" Marcus stiffened. "Like what?" "Like something bad is about to happen." The question landed softly, but it struck deep. Marcus did not answer immediately. "Yes," he finally said. "Always." Juliet looked at him with quiet understanding. "That sounds heavy," she said. He almost laughed. "Almost. You don't understand," Marcus said. "When you stop watching, people die." Juliet placed the cup down. "My parents died even though I was watching," she replied gently. Marcus looked at her. She met his gaze without fear this time. "Sometimes," she added, "bad things happen even when we do everything right." That sentence unsettled him more than any threat. He nodded once and turned away. "Go back to bed," he said. "Yes, sir." But sleep still did not come. The next morning, Marcus did something no one expected. He cancelled all early meetings. His aide nearly dropped his tablet. "Sir?" Samson asked carefully. "The defense committee can wait," Marcus said. Samson blinked. "The investors can wait. The foreign attaché can wait," Marcus repeated. Samson studied his face. Something had shifted, not softened, cracked. "Very well, sir," Samson said quietly. Marcus walked into his study. His chair stood there, clean, perfect, untouched. He stared at it for a long time. Then he did something radical. He sat, fully, back straight, hands on armrests. Nothing happened. No explosion, no ambush, no betrayal, just silence and memory. He remembered his mother sitting there, correcting his posture. "Sit like a man," she used to say. His throat tightened. A knock came at the door. Marcus flinched. "Yes?" he called. Juliet stepped in cautiously with a cleaning tray. "Madam Agnes asked me to dust, sir." Marcus nodded. "Go ahead." She moved slowly, careful not to disturb anything. When she reached the chair, she hesitated. Marcus noticed. "You can clean it," he said. Juliet shook her head gently. "I'll leave it, sir." Something in her refusal felt respectful. Marcus let her. As she worked, the room filled with soft movements instead of sharp tension. For the first time, the study felt like a room, not a bunker. Then the door opened again. Samson entered, stiff. "Sir," he said, eyes darting to Juliet. "There's an issue." Marcus's shoulders squared instantly. "What kind of issue?" "A former unit commander," Samson said, "from the Northeast operation. He's in Abuja. Wants to see you." Marcus's jaw tightened. "What does he want?" "He says he knows things." Juliet felt the shift immediately. The air changed. Marcus's hands clenched. "Where is he?" Marcus asked. "At the gate," Samson replied, refusing to leave. Marcus stood. The war voice returned. Loud, urgent. He grabbed his jacket. "I'll handle it." Juliet watched him walk away. She felt it then, the invisible wall snapping back into place. The man at the gate was rough-looking, old scars, nervous eyes. He smiled too fast. "General," the man said. "Long time." Marcus did not smile. "What do you want?" The man leaned closer. "You built a good life," he said. "But wars don't end, do they?" Marcus's fists tightened. "Say your point." The man lowered his voice. "You left people behind," he whispered, "and secrets don't stay buried." Marcus felt heat rise in his chest. "Get off my property," he said coldly. The man chuckled. "You can't outrun the past forever." Security moved in. The man was escorted out, still smiling. Marcus stood there long after the gate closed, breathing hard. The war had found him again. Inside the house, Juliet waited. She had seen that look before. In Men Who Never Truly Came Home, Marcus entered, face hard, eyes distant. Juliet stepped forward. "Sir, are you okay?" He didn't answer. He walked past her toward the study. Juliet followed instinctively. "Sir," she said again, firmer now, "you're not there anymore." He stopped, turned slowly. "What did you say?" "You're not in the war," Juliet said, voice shaking but steady. "You're here." Marcus stared at her. The silence stretched. Then, unexpectedly, his voice broke. "I don't know how to stop," he admitted. Juliet swallowed. "Then don't stop alone," she said. That was when the alarm sounded. Sharp, loud, red lights flashed. Samson's voice echoed from the corridor. "Sir, security breach now." Marcus's instincts exploded into motion. His mind snapped back into command. He turned toward the alarm, and the house once again felt like a battlefield. The alarm did not sound like fear. It sounded like certainty. Sharp, clean, merciless, red lights washed over the walls as Marcus moved on instinct. His body knew the drill before his mind finished the thought. He was already running, already commanding, already back there. "Samson," Marcus barked. "Lockdown protocol. Sector A first." "Already engaged, sir." Samson's voice echoed through the corridor, tight and fast. Juliet stood frozen for half a second, just half before the sound hit her chest. Not panic. Recognition. She had heard alarms before. Hospital alarms. The kind that meant someone might not make it. Marcus reached the junction and turned sharply. "Juliet," he said without looking back. "Staff wing. Now." She didn't move. "Sir," she said, louder than she meant to. "What kind of breach?" Marcus stopped. That alone was strange. He turned to her, eyes blazing. "This is not the time for questions." Juliet's heart pounded, but she held her ground. "Then it's not the time for fear either," she said. Silence. Even the alarm seemed to hesitate between pulses. Marcus stared at her like she had spoken a foreign language. "I have handled attacks," he said. "Real ones. People die when you hesitate." Juliet nodded. "People also die when fear is allowed to decide everything." Samson appeared at the end of the hall, tablet in hand, breath uneven. "Sir," he said, confused. "We're not seeing movement on external cameras." Marcus snapped to him. "What?" "Perimeter is clear," Samson said. "No forced entry, no signal interference." Marcus's chest tightened. "Then why the alarm?" Samson scrolled fast. It triggered from the study. Marcus's eyes flicked toward the study door. His chair, his desk, his space. Without waiting, Marcus turned and marched toward it. Juliet followed despite herself. She knew she should stay back, but something told her this was not about security. This was about a memory. They entered the study. Nothing was broken. Nothing was out of place. The desk was aligned. The books stood straight. The curtains were perfect. Too perfect. Marcus scanned again. "Slower now. Disable alarm," he ordered. Samson tapped his tablet. The sound cut off abruptly, leaving a thick silence behind. "What triggered it?" Marcus asked. Samson frowned. "Motion sensor under the chair." Marcus looked at the chair. Juliet did too. It stood there like an innocent thing. Marcus took a step forward, then another. He crouched and ran his hand under the seat. A small switch had been nudged. Barely visible, the kind of thing no one would notice. Except someone who noticed everything. Marcus sat back on his heels. "I installed that sensor," he said slowly. "Years ago." Samson blinked. "Sir?" "It triggers if the chair is moved unexpectedly," Marcus continued. "Or if someone tries to sit when the room is meant to be empty." Juliet felt a chill. "But I didn't," she began. "I know," Marcus said quietly. He stood. The truth landed gently, then all at once. The alarm wasn't reacting to danger. It was reacting to change. Marcus straightened, his face unreadable. "Stand down," he said to Samson. "Full reset." Samson hesitated. "Sir, are you sure?" "Stand down," Marcus repeated. Samson nodded and left. The door closed. Marcus and Juliet were alone again. The red light faded. Normal lighting returned. But something inside Marcus did not. "That alarm," he said, almost to himself, "was not protecting me." Juliet waited. It was protecting my fear, he finished. He looked at the chair, at the place where Juliet had slept, where his mother once sat. He swallowed. When you sat there, Marcus said. My mind didn't see you. It saw loss. Juliet stepped closer, carefully. I didn't know, she said softly. I punished you for waking something I buried, Marcus replied. Not for what you did. Juliet nodded. That happens a lot to people like me. Marcus turned sharply. People like you? She shrugged, small. People who survive quietly, she said. We become mirrors. Others see what they're running from. Marcus felt that sentence sink deep. He exhaled, long, tired. I don't want this house to be a bunker anymore, he said, but every time I loosen my grip, something in me screams. Juliet looked at him. Maybe, she said carefully, it screams because it's afraid of peace. Marcus laughed once, short, bitter. Peace feels like carelessness to soldiers. Juliet nodded. To caregivers too. They stood in silence. Then Marcus did something unexpected. He reached for the chair. Juliet stiffened. Marcus dragged it slightly. Not much, just enough. Nothing happened. No alarm, no sound. Marcus sat down fully. He didn't correct his posture. He didn't scan the room. He just sat. His hands trembled once, then stopped. Juliet watched. You're still here, she said gently. Marcus closed his eyes. Yes, he whispered. I am. The door burst open suddenly. Samson rushed in, breathless. Sir, he said urgently, the man from the gate, he left something. Marcus opened his eyes. What? Samson held up a small brown envelope. No name, Samson said. Just this. Marcus took it. The paper felt heavier than it should. He opened it slowly. Inside were old photographs, grainy, worn. His breath caught. One showed a younger Marcus in uniform. Another showed his mother, in a hospital bed, and in the corner of that photo, a young girl, 17, holding his mother's hand. Juliet. Marcus looked up slowly. Juliet stared at the photo, stunned. I didn't know anyone took pictures, she whispered. Marcus's voice was barely sound. The past doesn't want to stay quiet anymore. Juliet swallowed. Does that man know about me? She asked. Marcus nodded once. Yes. The room felt smaller again, but different this time. Not like a bunker, like a storm approaching. Marcus folded the photos carefully. The war outside may not be over, he said. And the war inside me is losing control. Juliet met his eyes. Then let it lose, she said. Marcus looked at the door, at the envelope, at the chair, and for the first time, he understood something clearly. Control had kept him alive, but it was compassion that would decide what he became next. The envelope still held secrets. Danger was circling, and someone out there had decided to reopen wounds that never healed. The envelope did not leave Marcus's hand all night. He carried it from the study to his bedroom, from the bedroom to the balcony, from the balcony back to the study again, like setting it down would give it permission to grow teeth. Juliet did not sleep either. She sat on the edge of her narrow bed in the staff wing, hands folded in her lap, staring at nothing. The photograph kept replaying in her mind, her younger self, thin and scared, holding a woman's hand, because no one else would. She had not known cameras were watching. She had not known memory could return with such force. And now, someone else knew too. Someone dangerous. Morning came quietly, too quietly. Marcus stood in front of the bathroom mirror, staring at his own face. The scars were still there. The eyes were still sharp. But something underneath had shifted, like a wall cracking slowly. Painfully, he whispered to his reflection, "You are not at war." The reflection did not answer. Downstairs, Samson was already waiting, posture tense. "Sir," he said, lowering his voice, "I ran background checks on the man from last night." Marcus nodded. "Talk." "His name is Colonel Ibrahim Danjuma. Retired, discharged quietly 5 years ago." Marcus's jaw tightened. "I know the name." "Yes, sir," Samson said. "He was part of the intelligence unit during the Northeast operations. He was removed after allegations of misconduct." Marcus exhaled sharply. "What kind?" Samson hesitated. "Selling information. Manipulating reports. Letting things happen so they could be blamed on others." Marcus closed his eyes. "False reports, like the one that killed his mother." "Why now?" Marcus asked. Samson shifted. Because, sir, your influence has grown, and his secrets are close to yours. Marcus opened the envelope again, looking at the photos. And Juliet? He asked. Samson nodded grimly. She's leverage. The word landed hard. Juliet had lived her whole life without protection, without power, without a shield. And now, simply because she had been kind, she was a target. Marcus straightened. No, he said. She is not. He was. Samson looked up. Sir, she is not leverage, Marcus repeated. She is under my protection. Samson studied his face. Then, quietly, Understood, sir. Marcus found Juliet in the courtyard later that morning. She was sweeping fallen leaves, her movements slow and careful. When she saw him, she stopped immediately. Good morning, sir, she said. Marcus noticed how she now watched the corners too. Fear had learned a new shape. Juliet, he said, we need to talk. She nodded. They sat on opposite sides of the small garden bench. Marcus did not choose his chair. He chose the bench. That mattered. The man who left the envelope, Marcus began, knows about you. Juliet's fingers tightened around the broom handle. Why? She asked. I don't have anything. Marcus looked at her steadily. You have a memory, he said. And memory is dangerous to people who built their lives on lies. Juliet swallowed. Am I in trouble? She asked. Marcus shook his head. No, he said firmly. But you are at risk. She nodded slowly, like someone receiving a diagnosis. What do I need to do? She asked. That question pierced him, always ready to adjust. To survive. You don't need to do anything, Marcus said. I do. Juliet studied his face. Sir, if my presence brings danger to your house. It doesn't, Marcus interrupted. My silence did. She went quiet. Marcus continued, softer now. That man is connected to the false report that reached my mother. The one that said I was dead. Juliet's breath caught. That shock killed her, Marcus said, and he knows it. Juliet closed her eyes. Then why involve me? She whispered. Marcus looked at the ground. Because you stayed, he said. And staying creates witnesses. Juliet opened her eyes. I didn't know. She said again. I know, Marcus replied, but he doesn't care. A long silence stretched between them. Finally, Juliet spoke. Sir, if I need to leave, I will. Marcus's head snapped up. No, sir, no, he repeated, stronger. You will not disappear because someone else is afraid of truth. Juliet searched his face. You're changing, she said quietly. Marcus nodded once. Yes, he admitted. And it's terrifying. She gave a small, sad smile. Change usually is. That afternoon, Marcus made another unusual decision. He called an internal investigation. Not quietly, not indirectly. He reopened the files from the Northeast operations. He demanded records, names, timelines. Samson watched him from the doorway. Sir, he said carefully, this will attract attention. Marcus did not look up. Good, he said. Let them look. But if Danjuma is involved, then he will move. Marcus finished. And when people move, they make mistakes. The war mind was still there, but now it was aimed differently. That evening, a message arrived. Anonymous. Stop digging, or the girl pays the price. Marcus stared at the screen. His hands did not shake. Juliet was watering plants nearby. He looked at her, at the quiet strength, at the kindness that had outlived lies. He typed back one sentence. I already lost my mother to silence. I will not lose another soul to fear. He locked the phone, and in that moment, General Marcus Bologna made a decision that would end the war for good, or start a new one entirely. Because healing, he was learning, was not passive. Sometimes, healing fought back. The night Marcus decided to stop running, rain fell over Abuja. Not the dramatic kind, not thunder and lightning, just steady rain, patient, persistent. The kind that does not ask for permission. Marcus stood in his study, the window slightly open, letting the cool air in. The chair was behind him. Untouched not because he feared it now, but because he no longer needed it to feel in control. Across the room, Juliet stood quietly. She had been given the option to leave the house for her safety. She refused. I've been running since I was 15, she said earlier that evening. If danger comes, let it meet me standing. That sentence stayed with him. Now, Samson stood near the door, tense. Sir, he said, voice low, Colonel Danjuma has responded. Marcus did not turn. How? He asked. He's moving, Samson replied, calling old contacts, trying to erase records. He's afraid. Marcus nodded. Fear made people careless. Bring him in, Marcus said. Samson hesitated. Sir, this won't be quiet. Marcus finally turned. I don't want quiet, he said. I want truth. They met at dawn, not at the base, not in a courtroom, but in a simple government conference room with peeling paint and bad air conditioning, the kind of place where lies did not feel important enough to survive. Colonel Danjuma sat across the table, older now, thinner, but his eyes still carried that same restless calculation. Marcus sat opposite him. No uniform, no medals. Just a man. You should have stayed silent, Danjuma said, forcing a smile. You had everything. Marcus looked at him calmly. I had control, he said. Not peace. Danjuma laughed. Peace is for people who weren't forged in war. Marcus leaned forward. No, he said. Peace is for those brave enough to stop fighting ghosts. Danjuma's smile slipped. The report about your death, Marcus continued. You signed it. Danjuma shrugged. Information gets confused in war. You delayed the correction, Marcus said. On purpose. Danjuma's jaw tightened. My mother died, Marcus said. Because you needed chaos to hide your deals. Silence filled the room. Danjuma glanced at the door, then back at Marcus. And the girl? He asked softly. Why protect her? Marcus did not hesitate. Because she stayed, he said, when everyone else walked away. Danjuma scoffed. Sentiment. No, Marcus replied. Humanity. Samson slid the files across the table. Financial trails, call logs, witness statements, including one final statement. Juliet's. Not emotional, not dramatic, just honest. What she saw, what she did, who stayed, who left. Danjuma's shoulders sagged. The fight left him. I didn't think anyone would remember, he muttered. Marcus stood. That's the problem, he said. You built your life on people forgetting. He turned and walked out. He did not watch the arrest. The war did not need another ending like that. That evening, Marcus returned home. Not to alarms, not to fear, but to quiet. Juliet was in the kitchen, cooking jollof rice badly. Too much oil, not enough salt. Marcus watched from the doorway. You're burning it, he said. Juliet startled, then laughed a real laugh. I warned you I'm not a good cook. He stepped in. Move, he said. I'll help. She blinked. You cook? I survived on rations for years, Marcus said. This is easier. They stood side by side. No ranks, no rules. Just two people learning how to exist without armor. Later, as they ate, Juliet spoke softly. Sir, do you still feel like danger is everywhere? Marcus thought for a long moment. Sometimes, he admitted. But now I recognize it. She nodded. That's how healing starts. Marcus looked around the room. The chair, the books, the windows. It took me years to understand this, he said. Control kept me alive, but compassion brought me back. Juliet met his eyes. And your mother? She asked. Marcus swallowed. She came home, he said. Through you. Silence sat with them. Comfortable. Whole. Thanks for watching. What's your view about this story? Which city are you watching from? Kindly let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more interesting stories.